about 11 years ago, 1996, however many years that is. I'm receiving a telephone call from a German pastor out of the blue, and so I'm coming to the end, unless you want to hear all more details. Out of the blue, I'm receiving a telephone call from a German pastor, and this guy telling me, look, we keep hearing about the work of evangelism which you are leading in Israel. We have here a growing church in Hamburg, and we like to send you 35 of our students for you to equip an evangelism. And he tells me, we have come to understand that the backbone of a healthy church is evangelism. And so we want to really send you 35 students for you to really equip. You know, for me, it was a shock. Here I am, out of the blue, this man from Germany, 35 Germans, to come and share the gospel to the Jews. I told him, so I didn't tell him anything, but I just had to tell him, wait a minute, I have to really pray about this, I have to think about this, I'll get back to you. And you know, the Lord spoke loud, sound, and very clear. Jacob, your ways are not my ways, your thoughts are not my thoughts, invite the Germans. So I picked up the phone, I called him back, I said, look, I don't have time to really arrange hotels for you people. And this was for me a good way to test them if they're really coming just for adventure or they're coming for the real thing. I told him, look, I have a house in Yafo, and the back of my house I have a nice sized garden. I'm willing to put 2 more showers and toilets, and we'll have altogether 3 showers, 3 toilets. I will buy 35 mattresses, and they can all sleep outside in the garden. And so he says, they're coming, and we're going to pick the cost. We're going to pay everything for it. I said, so let them come. So they came, and I had to prepare myself all these months before they came. Now, how I'm going to rearrange their heartbeat and their mindset with this gospel. How I'm going to teach them to, relate the gospel to my people and don't cause more damage than the Christian already have caused to my people all these years. And so I gave about 4 or 5 days of intensive teaching, going through the covenants and going through the prophecies and teaching them the history of my people and having them really understand how to relate the gospel to the Jewish people in such a way that the Israeli hear it and he understands that we're not talking here about cross made out of wood and statues of medals and all these idols that the Jews have in mind when they think of Christianity, right? After this 4 or 5 days of teaching, I started taking them to the streets. They came for 21 days. And I myself was just moved to see the response of the Israelis. So to make a long story short, this became a very powerful success, and how we managed to go into the marketplaces, into the beach, into the army bases, and it was powerful. And they went back, and this was like a double sword ministry. A blessing to my own people and having the Gentile fulfilling God's heart desire, provoking the Jews to jealousy, and then a great ministry to them as Germans, because they come with a great deal of guilt and condemnation as Germans. I mean, shame of themselves, so shameful, and they went back like eagles. They went back with self-worth, they went back with guilt-free and condemnation-free, and all of a sudden realized who they are in Christ, all together, not only just from the teaching, but from taking them by hand. And the Jews are such a people who are quicker to forgive those Germans than they know to forgive themselves. So they went back. This became a great stories in a lot of magazines in Germany, and another group came, and before you know it, another group, so much so that we have now, since 96 till this present time, 5 groups during the summer, 4 or 5 groups during the summer in this garden, sleeping outside. From this one nation of the Germans, now we have 20 nations coming in each group, from age 18 to age 80, different mentalities, different languages, different backgrounds, different doctrines. But at the first lesson which they get, which is all about humility, all of a sudden everybody leaves all their spiritual muscles and all their this, that, and the other, and understand what it really means to just follow the Lord. And it's an amazing thing when you have like 50 people from some 20 nations, from age 18 to 80 years of age, sleeping in a garden. 50 people with 3 showers, all these years. This is over 11 years this has been going on. And the Lord sees that, and we could do it only in the summer because it's, sleeping in a 1,000-star hotel. We couldn't really do it all throughout the year because all the sleeping is outdoor. And so, as I see more people want to come, and one thing about the Americans, I must tell you this, don't take it personally, in all these groups, or out of 50 people, we had no more than 2-3 Americans. The Americans, they wanted to, they had their comfort zone, they couldn't handle such gardens and so on. So who was coming? Particularly the European, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Finland, and always the Germans were the leading group. The German, after them Switzerland, Austria, then come Finland, and Finland starting to beat all the others, slowly but surely. Australia, New Zealand coming now big time, Singapore, and Italy starting to really move in, and we have from all kind of Spanish-speaking people. But for me, it's just an amazing thing to think that God have chosen Germany to start something so prophetic. And so just in closing, for you to really understand what is really going on here. God promised in His Word, I will provoke Israel to jealousy with the Gentiles. You're all familiar with Romans 11, 9 to 11. We're not going to talk about that. But Romans 11, he says, and he asks a very important question which the church is so ignorant of it. Have Israel stumbled over that stone which the Lord laid in Zion in order to fall? He's thinking, when Paul says, did we stumble in order to fall, he thinks about the stone which the Lord laid in Zion, Isaiah 28. Did we stumble in order to fall? God forbid. But through our stumbling, salvation has come to the Gentiles to provoke Israel to jealousy. Now, Israel have messed up for 16 years when they really came to build the temple. I look at the church, and you, the church, for 2,000 years, you haven't come face to face with the intent of God, guts, to use you to provoke Israel to jealousy. 2,000 years have passed by, and the church have done everything possible to distance the Jews from Jesus. But you look at it now, and you realize God promised. God knows how to fulfill His promises. So what is He doing? He brings His people back in the land, dry bones. All of a sudden, He puts love and compassion in the hearts of a great deal of Christians around the world for the Jews. And I have you know, beloved, this is no small miracle. This is even more miracle than the departure of the Red Sea, of the walls of Jericho falling down. Now this is really, seriously, when you think about it, that's no small. After 2,000 years of bitter hatred and everything possible to demolish the Jews from the face of the earth by the church, all of a sudden, so many Christians falling in love with the Jews. What happened? With great compassion. And so what is this? It's God doing it. It is a God timing. It is a God revelation for the Christian. Now, from all those many people who really received that revelation, few, and still growing number, beginning to understand, now we're not going to sleep on this revelation. We're not going to just, accumulate knowledge. God wants to do something, we're willing to give a hand. We're willing to really fulfill this great intent of the heart of God provoking Israel to jealousy. So that's among the Christians what's happening. On top of that, the Lord is really not calling you to do something without going ahead of you. And how does He go ahead of you to fulfill His mission? He's calling upon you to provoke the Jews to jealousy. What is He doing? He's pushing the people into the corner. Now, bear in mind, you travel the land, and everything seems like, business as usual. People having their life. But I'm telling you, just like in the book of Judges, the Lord pushing the nation to the corner. And if you call to your memories the book of Judges, you realize He wants to get the attention of His people. What happened? Moab, Ammon, Amalek, attacks from here, attacks from there, and they cry out and they weep to God, send us a deliverer, and He sends them. He sends them, Gideon and Deborah and Samson, Yiftach Giladi, and so on, right? And so God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and He's doing the very same thing. He's